And welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. The theme song usually is like that because a lot of times people are just connecting, and I always do that, especially when I'm doing virtual, because usually when somebody gets on YouTube and to connect with it, it takes a long time to get in there. So thanks everybody for joining us on this incredibly beautiful, bright day here we have in Central Ohio and the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining us today are representatives from the Reynoldsburg Community Association, because one of the biggest events that they do is actually coming up in the not too distant future. So I will turn it over to Angela and Sarah. Go ahead and talk about all sorts of things. First of all, let's actually start about the Community Association itself. Why don't you talk about the history of that and how it came to be, and then we'll kind of go from there.
All right. Well, it was established in 2008 by a group of residents that were interested in bringing free community events to Reynoldsburg. The very first event was the 2008 4th of July parade, and since then we've expanded, and we annually do the community Halloween party and Christmas on the town. We're able to do these free events with sponsorships from Reynoldsburg businesses and organizations, and a couple fundraisers we have throughout the year. The spaghetti dinner that's coming up in March, and then also under the Christmas on the Town umbrella, we do operate a Secret Santa shop, which we'll talk more about.
So it's always a good thing to get involved and to kind of just, show the different things that our community does. So Christmas on the Town is coming up. It's not this weekend. You have time. I realize it feels like Christmas gets earlier and earlier every year.
It feels that way.
I know that there are a lot more. I was noticing as I was driving around town the last couple of days, there are a lot more Christmas lights up right now, and I think most everybody's taking advantage of the decent weather to put the lights up, which I wish we had done, but oh well. So tell us about Christmas on the Town. So let's pretend I've never been there. I've never walked up and down the street with my Santa hat on and things like that. So I know that it's starting in the morning. Where do I go? What do I do? What are some of the best things to think about here?
Okay, so Christmas on the Town starts on December 7th. It's usually always the first Saturday in December. So it's December 7th. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you've never come before, I would say the purpose is to allow the businesses on Main Street to kind of showcase what their goods are. And I believe Christmas on the Town started way back in the 60s with the Businessmen's Association, and it's just kind of evolved over time. And now it's more of a community event as opposed to just supporting business, but we are supporting businesses. Sorry, my phone's ringing. And
don't they know that they should be watching? Anybody who's calling us, you're going to be on the show.
Well, I wear a lot of hats, so some don't know which hat.
I get phone calls even from people in here that are like, oh, I forgot.
I forgot. Right?
I'm pretty established 12 o'clock on Wednesdays. Pretty much
That's
everybody
all
knows where I'm at.
available,
I'm
right?
sorry, go ahead.
All right, so we have our open houses on Main Street, and then we have entertainment all around the city. Mm-hmm. So we have three main focal points. We have Main and Wagner at the old town center. So those businesses are open, and our kids can go in and families can go in. And in that area, we have the First Service Credit Union, and you can go and visit Mrs. Claus and grab some really tasty treats. We will have some of the businesses there, like Joseph's Coats, and some of the, they'll have some refreshments. Darshan bubble tea, they'll have some samples and things like that. So that's our, one location. And then our next location area is Broadwin and Jackson area, over by the Reynoldsburg Truro Historical Society and the Masonic Lodge. And so we have quite a few things happening over there. Actually, I think that might be one of the hot spots, because we're going to have a variety of high school groups there. And then the Masonic Lodge will have Santa and an elf or two.
Yeah.
And
almost as important as that is the apple fritters.
And you knew that was coming. Yeah. We have a jazz band there, and so if you want to go in and hear some nice festive music, come on in and see that and hear that. We have horse-drawn carriages. You can take a carriage ride around, and it's free. We ask for a donation from Helping Hands, or for Helping Hands, just to kind of help continue to serve our community in that capacity. And then finally, our last location area is at the YMCA. And Sarah can talk about that a little bit more. But we have holidays around the world and, shopping there. Additionally, I forgot to mention that Cotner Funeral Home also has some holiday activities as well. So, don't want to leave that out. And you got to go in to witness it and experience it. There's, just go and get that experience. And finally, I just would like to give a shout out to the co-chair of Christmas on the Town, Susan Brusk. She's been managing this for many years, and I just don't want to leave her out. She just wasn't able to attend today.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so all right, we'll talk a little bit about the YMCA, because that was one thing to get a little bit more to, because I know that that's a completely different thing, and I don't want to say it's my favorite part because there's apple fritters, but let's kind of go. The YMCA is fun because I like seeing what everybody's like, especially with some of the activities that kids are doing there. So go ahead and take that away.
Well, that's actually one of my favorite, leading to one of your next questions about Christmas on the Town, is the activities we have at the YMCA. The Reynoldsburg Community Association has been doing, under the Christmas on the Town, a secret Santa shop with 10. We've had 10 so far. It started out really small in Vicks before it was Vicks, when it was a vacant hardware store. And for the last 4 years, the YMCA, the Reynoldsburg Community Center YMCA, has graciously hosted it, which has been wonderful. We've had warmth, we've had a clean facility. It's not always been that way. I love, love, love doing this for the kids in our community. They are so proud. They come in with a little bit of budget, and they're able to pick out presents and get them beautifully gift wrapped by our hardy volunteers, and then walk out with their shopping bags. And they're just so proud and excited to do that. But even bigger picture than that, I love that we can do this. The Reynoldsburg Community Association can do this community event in the community center, and for the last few years we've been able to take some of those proceeds and give them to other organizations in the community. So it's like a full circle community event.
It's a lot of fun. All right, so that's your favorite. What's your favorite thing?
So my favorite thing is just the joy of having a community event where people are coming together just to enjoy the community. So the children, the families, the opportunity to meet people that I haven't met in my own community yet. So it's just a beautiful opportunity to do that. I think it's a collective. We have so many wonderful volunteer groups that are coming together for this. And so to me, it's just another opportunity to embrace what my perception of what community is all about. So that's my favorite. I can't wait to see the children, and I really hope we have decent weather so that
I
we
can't control
I know you can't.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because I've been told
I heard other things, but yeah, but
control certain things.
I've not been given those keys yet. I keep trying.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Halloween would never rain on Halloween if I had that kind of power.
That's true.
But I do know that if we do ever suffer a drought again, I'm just going to move Halloween up, because then once that's changed, then we know it will
We
rain.
know.
That's just how
Yeah,
that
that's
works.
true. But I do hope that we have good weather, because that does impact our turnout. One thing that I didn't mention is that because we have the 3 locations, and we know that people are with little legs that get a little tired, we have a fun bus that will transport you from one location to the other. And then we'll have volunteers such as student council and some members of the community association who will help you board and exit the bus at the at Main and Wagner, over at Broadway and Jackson, and at the YMCA.
It's a lot of fun. So I know you guys don't need any more help and you don't need any additional volunteers because you pretty much got that wrapped up. Or am I mistaken in that?
Oh, you know you're mistaken.
Okay.
We always need additional volunteers. The Reynoldsburg Community Association is very small but mighty,
Mhm.
but many hands make light work, and we'd love to have lighter work.
Because once this is done, the next one after this is the spaghetti dinner that you had
Yes.
mentioned, which is always a fun time. I've been going for a long time. We're always trying to find ways to increase the turnout there. So we'll have somebody back on as we get a little bit closer to that. But then obviously the 4th of July parade, and then of course the community Halloween Fest, which was fabulous.
Yeah,
So,
it was very fabulous, and certainly appreciate the collaboration with the city. I think the combination of the resources and the attitude towards bringing a really wonderful event to the city resulted in that outcome. So
well, I'm just letting you know I'm working on trying to get the Ectomobile for next year. So we're trying.
okay,
So,
let's do it.
just because.
And am I correct that Christmas is also a favorite holiday? Do you love Christmas
I-
decorations
I
as much
do.
as you love?
My wife doesn't seem to share that same enthusiasm at times because I am, as most everybody who's been watching us, I'm a relatively big Star Wars fan. And so a lot of my holiday decorations have a little bit of that Star Wars theme to it, inflatables and lights and things like that. But we do want to get, every year I want to add more to it. I want to have some more lights and more things. I find it funny because when those things go up and all of that and they're all inflated, there are a lot of times cars will drive by and they'll stop just because of the fact that
Right.
it's so unique and it's all of that. So, but that's the fun thing to do. I think that's always a good thing.
Well, we also have, and this is more indoor decor,
Mhm.
but for the second year, we just debuted it last year, we have a holiday shop. We call it Holiday House in the YMCA. And that's a place where the adults can shop
Yeah.
while the kids are in their domain in Secret Santa. And we have lots of very inexpensive holiday decor. You could decorate your whole office if you wanted.
There might even be some Star Wars
Oh,
decor.
I'm thinking on it. I think we have
may
one or
to
two.
look.
So it's always a fun thing. Well, I appreciate it. Any questions, anything that's
Nope.
come up? All right, well, you guys have escaped from that one. As always, you're both more than welcome, but if you have other things that you need to attend to today, again, it's not this weekend. We got a little bit of time, so we got some
After
time.
Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving. But it will be that first Saturday again from 10 to 3. And honestly, you can park at Memorial Plaza, you can park here at City Hall, you can park at the Y, you can park at Brewster's because I'm sure they're gonna be excited. And I don't care what anybody says, even if it's in December, it's not cold enough for ice cream. You can
it's
still
always-
have ice cream there.
Yeah.
So I know they're enthusiastic about it as well. So I'm sure they'll probably have some sort of like holiday theme.
I wonder.
Yes,
Yeah.
we expect that they'll
There'll be
participate.
something in that.
And one last thing I wanted to just mention was the holidays around the world display. The community recognizes that everyone doesn't necessarily celebrate Christmas, and that there are a lot of winter holidays that are represented in our residence. So there will be some displays, and if anyone is interested in having a share of their culture, please reach out to me at the Reynoldsburg Community Association website to just let me know, and maybe we can get a table or an opportunity for you to share your holiday with us.
It's always good.
You can also follow us on Facebook. We have a page there, and we're putting out updates as we have them about the event.
Yeah, and I think probably the only thing I didn't mention was we will have treasure maps, and that map, it has a list of stops that you can go all around the city, get a stamp from that vendor, and then we will have a raffle prize. This year it's a prize to Urban Air.
Mhm.
So if you fill it out, let's say we get 200 people who are submitting them, then we'll do a draw, and then from that draw we will award those gifts certificates.
I've been at 2 elementary schools in the last week doing a little bit of reading or talking about local government, and at each one of them I've mentioned urban air, and big selling point for the third graders in Reynoldsburg City Schools. They're big fans of it. So.
So come on out, get a treasure map, go get it filled in, and come take a chance of getting tickets to Urban Air.
All right. Well, thank you
right.
very much for being
Thank
here.
you.
I appreciate it. Again, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
So you're not in here in your capacity as board president, so I'll skip that.
Not
But there-
today.
Yep, there is there was a board meeting last night, so if you want to,
There
please go
was.
ahead and check it out. It's online, you can go ahead and view it, see where we're at with that. I did not see any office hours updated this week, but I also did not check this morning, I was a little bit busy, so,
Well-
but they have a list on the calendar to do so.
I unofficially in this board capacity, since I'm here as Reynoldsburg Community Association, board member Abram and board member Young will have office hours this evening at 5 o'clock at the Welcome Center.
So take advantage of it. It's always a good thing to ask questions. Just a couple updates on code enforcement. One, please try and keep any leaves out of the gutters because we don't want them to get in there. I know most of the leaves at this point are gone, but just try and do so. Please know that I am actually going to council with our budget next week. There is things in there for actually, in essence, a leaf truck to go ahead and get rid of those leaves throughout the year. So if council approves, then we'll actually have leaf removal for next year. But keep those out there. And if you have any leftover lawn decorations from the previous election, feel free to bring them to City Hall. We can go and take care of them and get them recycled as best we can. Reynoldsburg has a great thing going on with its police department. We have our Shop with a Cop program. They are still accepting Meyer gift cards until the 25th. All you have to do is just go pick up a Meyer gift card and then drop it off next door at the police department. If you don't want to do that one and you want to help the Turo Township, they do a Toys for Tots and they're accepting new toys until December 1st at either location. And I do have good news with that. As we all know, this is the time of year where we're getting budgets together and things like that. But I'm happy to announce that the City of Reynoldsburg and the Fraternal Order of Police have actually agreed on a new contract, so that'll be presented to council next week. And it was not a close vote, it was 48-5, so I'm pretty impressed with how that all works out, so that's always a good thing. I want to make sure we support our police officers and all of that. They have a job that, no matter how I try to describe it, it's much more difficult than any of that, so we're supported there. So I'm looking forward to getting council's approval on that one. Wagner Road, which may be of interest for some people here. The weather has not been cooperative the past couple of days, especially when you're working on a bridge, because usually where there's a bridge, there's water, and when it rains, there's a lot more of it. So they are working on that one, so it is kind of pushing things back a little bit. So when it's not raining, they'll try and get out there. And again, I do want to actually shout out, and I can't remember if I said it last week, when we had our ceremony at the VFW, they were very kind because it had rained the night before. They actually shut off their equipment, their generator that was taking some of the water out of it for about the 15 minutes so we could actually have the VFW ceremony.
Nice.
They didn't have to do that, and they're, I realize they're on the clock and all of it, but they were very cooperative and very nice to do that, so to give our veterans a moment to, acknowledge that. So I don't know if they're watching me, I doubt it, but just in case, I'm shouting out to them for that one. We do have some new news when it comes to streets. So Councilwoman Mildred Johnson and I have been going back and forth on some different plans for how do we address some of the speeding issues. And there's certain things that we can do that are, I don't want to call it easy. Personal responsibility is the best, but we were talking about that earlier. Apparently everybody in Reynoldsburg likes to race so they can get to the same stop sign or stoplight at the same time and then wait there. But one thing that we did talk about is putting some speed indicator signs in various areas. These would be I guess you could say, if we were to take a list of the most complained about things, locations, we came up with kind of a top 10 list of that. And so you're going to start seeing over the next couple of weeks some speed indicator signs there. They're just like what you've seen everywhere else. If you're going above it or whatever speed limit, mile per hour you're going, it will flash that. But it's also going to collect some data so we can get a little bit more refined ideas about when speeding occurs versus when it doesn't. Like you would think in most cases you're looking at people leaving in the
Rush
morning
hour,
or coming home in the evening, but one of the areas in Slate Ridge, it's actually between 11 and 1, which is the busiest time. And the best guess is I have people that are either coming to or leaving from lunch in that general area. So that's where a lot of that is. But Graham Road, Rose Hill, Rodabaugh, Kingsley, Slate Ridge, First Gate, Farmsbury, Taylor Road Southwest, kind of by the Walmart and Best Buy, Palmer Road, and then Bryce Road north of Main Street, kind of by Ragosa, are going to be our first kind of test samples. And we're going to see how those go to help kind of refine some of the enforcement. Those are probably the most complained about streets. I realize people speed into other streets, but these are the ones where we get the most in there. It's not going to stop everybody, but most people that are driving, if they see an indicator and it says you're going X amount of miles per hour, most people stop on the brakes. They get that. So that's something that's going to be there. So that's one step and a number of steps that we're going to be working with to try and address some of the speeding issues in the community. Again, shout out to Councilman Mildred Johnson for helping me with that one. And then next week, not next week, the week after, I'm going on a field trip. It's going to be a fun. We're going to go to Indianapolis. So we're taking a lot of members of our staff, and we are taking a trip to Indianapolis because Indianapolis has a already functional rapid transit bus line system. And now that the rapid transit line is passed, after having gone on a tour with myself and our development director, Eric, we felt it would be best, all right, now that we really know that this thing is coming, let's all get out there from our police and our engineers and anybody and everybody on that, and we're going to take a trip. So there's going to be songs, and we're going to have brown paperback lunches, and it's going to be lots of fun like that. But we're going to head out to Indianapolis, and we're actually going to ride some of those bus lines to kind of get an idea. Because once you're there, like I could try and explain what it looks like with this system, but until you're actually in it, it is not the easiest thing to understand. I will say that no decisions have been made on what the configuration is going to look like on Main Street. They want one thing, I would like to have something else, and so we'll figure out how all that works as we go through. But when we get our service department and when we get our police department and things of that nature, when we're on the road, it will help us get a better understanding about why we feel that this is the best direction for this project that's going to be there. So when I get back after, that's on December 2nd, I think, so on the 4th, when we come back, that's when we'll kind of have a debrief of that, and we'll probably have pictures because it's a field trip, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's the rapid transit thing. Kind of moving on from there, we've got some cool things with parks. So I mentioned the other week that one of the things that we are doing is we are going to be using some America Recovers Act dollars to replace some of the trees that have either died on Main Street or some of the trees that have struggled on Taylor Road Southwest. If you remember the ash borer virus that was going around, Parks Department did a phenomenal job keeping as best of those trees on Taylor Road Southwest as they could, but the time has come that we're going to do some different things. So these are going to be the trees that are on there. I'm going to read what it is, and it's not, I have no idea. To me, it's a tree. This is a ginkgo autumn gold tree is going to be there. So that is the tree that will be there. So that at one point in time, I assume it will be green other times, and then in the autumn it turns this nice gold. Again, I'm not the arborist, but that'll be there. We're still working on what's going to go on Main Street. It'll probably be somewhat similar, but we're going to replace the ones that are dead on Main Street and replace a number of those on Taylor Road Southwest with those America Recovers Act dollars. So keep an eye out for that. We do have a cool thing on Monday, the 25th at the Reynoldsburg Community Church. It's the Gobble Games. I don't know if any spaces are available, but this is for adults and one adult and a child between the ages of 7 and 14. And it is all sorts of turkey mayhem that you can have in it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If your Thanksgiving is not, if that's a little bit too intense for you, we also have a gingerbread house decorating contest, or class actually, on December 18th from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Senior Center. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this will be very popular because in the end, no matter what your house looks like, you can eat it and it's always good. So we've got that coming on. Another cool event that I want to kind of get on everybody's radar right now, because if you have the chance to do it, it is a wonderful thing to do. Pine Quarry Park will have their Luminary Walk on Sunday, December 15th from 5:30 to 6:30. It is an absolutely cool thing to do. You can walk through and follow the Luminary Trail all the way through different parts of Quarry Park, and it's just nice. It's peaceful, it's calm. There's some holiday music occasionally playing in different parts of it, but it's a great opportunity to do so, just to get out there. So I encourage you. It's basically at Kingsley, just basically head west on Kingsley until you get a big sign that says Pine Quarry Park. That's the number one thing. So go through there, but I hope you can join it. It's a lot of fun. Did have a little bit of news for development. The former Ohio Select actually has 2 of their 3 units rented, and we're still waiting to see exactly what it is. We know one is going to be a beauty supply store or something, so obviously I'll be there a lot. We're not sure what the other one is right off the top of our head, but we're going to figure that one out as well. We have a couple Thanksgiving events, one of them at the Livingston campus on the 22nd. That is going to be from 5 to 7 o'clock. It's with CareSource in NBC4. It's got some turkeys, all the traditional sides, and this is the one thing that I really liked about it. Some tips for staying encouraged during the holiday season. Not everybody has that warm, happy feeling when it comes to the holidays. And so sometimes people struggle with that, and we need to figure out ways to kind of stay encouraged. Sometimes it can be easy, like when we're here and we tell jokes and we laugh and things like that, but there are other times that things are a little bit more than that. So they're gonna have some resources there to kind of bring that positivity all the way around. And then after that, we of course will have a small business Saturday after Thanksgiving, so that will be around, so make sure you kind of pay attention to those local businesses. Obviously, the Black Friday sales are always a wonderful thing, and everybody likes to buy. They're not nearly as intense as they were about 20 years ago.
Because it goes for months.
Yeah, so now it's a little bit of a thing, but keep in mind that's going on. We also have our tree lighting the day before Christmas on the Town. That'll be Friday night. It is rain or shine, so again, I'm working on that weather machine. But the Reynoldsburg Orchestra will be there with cookies. There'll be some inflatables, some stilt walkers, the hot chocolate, of course, from the student council, and the big guy himself, Santa Claus. So that's always going to be a fun thing. We also have, if you're interested in attending the Martin Luther King Breakfast, this is, I think, the third annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. Fourth annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. It'll be at the Reynoldsburg Community Church, but you can go ahead and get that information online. And something new that we're going to be doing, that we're taking nominations for now, is we are actually going to have a Black History Month banner nomination. So for those that have contributed to Reynoldsburg in some way, shape, or form, that we're going to honor them during Black History Month. So we will take those nominations. It's not really strenuous of an application process, so don't feel like you have to write like a multi-paragraph nomination. But it's one way to recognize those contributions from the African American community right here in Reynoldsburg. So this will be the first year we're doing it, so be patient and kind with us as we try and get this one together, but something definitely overdue. And I will say that we did not come up with this idea completely on our own. We are stealing it from Bexley, and I'm okay with that. So any questions, comments, anything pop up?
Nope.
All right, well, I did want to bring up one thing, because we did see a couple of comments over the weekend. If you happen to notice, in the short north this past weekend, a group of out-of-state Nazis, yes, Nazis, were walking up and down the short north. They were shouting all sorts of not happy things. In some cases, there was use of pepper spray on black patrons in the short north, things of that nature. To my understanding as of right now, no arrests were made in that. We also know that this is not the first time that Nazis have marched in the central Ohio area. This group has actually been here a couple of times before. They typically go to the short north, or they go to Clintonville, somewhere where they probably feel that it's safe for them to spew their hate, and that's where they go. So people asked, all right, Mayor Begany, what happens if? And this is the frustrating thing, but it's also something that is what makes America, really what makes America the country that it is. We do have freedom of speech here. We don't always have to agree on what that freedom of speech is. So if a group like that were to march up and down a street, like on Main Street, let's say they went for Christmas on the Town, there is absolutely nothing that we can do. They're not breaking any laws. They're not doing anything, as long as they stay away from words or phrases that encourage or act on violence. When that happens, it becomes a different thing. So if pepper spray comes out and they're spraying patrons, obviously that's easy. If they're encouraging violent acts with their words, that becomes a different thing. But unfortunately, that's where it is. The reason why is freedom of speech is one of those things where once you say everybody has freedom of speech except this one particular group, then it becomes easier to start saying, well, now you can't do this, and now you can't do that. I can tell you that if I happen to be in an area where Nazis are walking, I will probably not be the kindest person to them, and I will probably ask them all sorts of questions to make sure they understand what they think they represent. Because my guess is either they know what they represent and don't care, or they have no idea what it means to be a Nazi. I have met survivors from the Holocaust. I have studied the World War II era in 1920s and 30s Germany. That was my, I don't want to call it area of expertise, but every historian has a time period that's where they focus on. And the World War II area is my area. So there's very little that I have not learned about how all of that stuff came about. And I do not believe that bowing down, acquiescing, ignoring, not confronting the issue is the right approach with this, because every time you do that, it emboldens them to take further action. But I will also tell you this, that's not where the fight is. the fight with Nazis and hate groups like that starts in your own communities. It starts with your friends and your neighbors. It starts with the comments that come out that are kind of like a hint of, you agree with me, don't you? And they started out as if it's a safe space that you can find whatever that other is. You are obviously free to do what you choose to do. I don't know if I'm getting older, more stubborn, whatever the case may be, but when people say things like that, whether it's dog whistles, and again, it doesn't have to be Nazis, but anything with that, I start asking very specific questions about what they're trying to say. Now, to be fair, I don't hang around with a lot of people that have any of these types of views. That's not who I talk to, but I realize obviously there are people out there. My thing is that if people say this in your living rooms, you have friends over and they start expressing feelings about immigrant populations, LGBTQ plus populations, black populations, you name whatever it is, those are the times that you have to stand up. Because if you stand up there, they won't get emboldened to walk around in masks on streets and communities with guns. Because they know that you're not going to put up with it in a house, or certainly not going to put up with it in the streets. That's just my view. That's how I live my life. That's how I encourage my children to live it. That's how it is. So they're not welcome here. I hope they don't come here. But if they do, I've seen a lot of good Indiana Jones movies of how to deal with Nazis. So with that, any questions, comments?
Nope.
All right. Again, thank you very much for joining me, especially with my very special moment with Joe ranting. I do appreciate it. We are off next week because it's before Thanksgiving, so we will not be here. We will be back on December 4th with the members of the Reynoldsburg communication team.
Okay.
So they're going to come and they're going to be on the other side of the camera, which is fun because that means my assistant Jessica is going to run the cameras, and that's always an adventure. But that's going to be a good thing. And then we have a couple of good, Vice President Jenny Quisenberry is going to be on in
cool.
December, and then of course the big guy. Yeah, Santa's going to be there, so he'll be there as well. And we're already looking at some great guests for next year. So we've got some good things already lined up for it, including some Franklin County commissioners, as well as the Board of Elections is going to come back, and some other organizations as well. So with that, everybody, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Stay safe, and especially with Thanksgiving, be respectful in all things, and put away your shopping carts, because that's really important. It's not that hard to do. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.